Last time we talked about medical problems that actually end hikes.
Overuse injuries, GI illness, tick-borne disease, and environmental stress. So how do you prepare for those risks without carrying 5 pounds of medical gear?
A quick disclaimer. I'm a retired physician. This is intended to be general educational information, not personal medical advice. Always consult with your healthcare provider before making medical decisions. My background is in research and clinical guideline development, so I tend to approach trail medicine a little differently. My philosophy is simple. Prevent what you can, treat what's manageable, stabilize, and communicate for the rest. And before I begin a long hike, I make sure I'm up to date on dental care, vaccines, and routine health screenings. You don't want to discover a preventable problem 80 miles from the road. Older hikers should consider a primary care visit. I discuss cardiac risk, review medications, and strategies to keep my weak ankles from rolling during the hike.
My pre-trail training includes strength and balance exercises, endurance hikes, downhill conditioning, specifically quad strengthening. I make sure my footwear fits, is broken in, but with plenty of wear left. The first mistake hikers make is carrying too much gear in general and too much medical gear.
You don't need a hospital in your backpack. Some people ask if I bring a stethoscope in my backpack. I don't, but some old habits die hard. The AT is never that far from a road, a town, or other hikers.
The second mistake is carrying gear without knowing when or how to use it.
Medical gear only works if you understand the situation it's meant for. And the third mistake is focusing on treatment instead of prevention. Most trail medical problems are caused by load, hygiene, hydration, or environmental exposure. The real goal is to prevent problems before you need the kit.
That's why most of my trail medicine strategy happens before I open the medical kit.
Overuse injuries are the number one medical problem on the trail. Connective tissues, tendons, fascia, cartilage adapt more slowly than muscles or cardiovascular fitness. That's why hikers often feel strong early and then get injured, like when I increased my mileage too quickly to 20-mile days and got shin splints. Early in a hike, I try to keep mileage around 8 to 12 miles per day, then advance that mileage slowly. I also take a rest day about once a week to allow connective tissue recovery.
I'm relentless when it comes to lightening my pack.
Strengthening exercises, especially calf loading, hip stability work, and single leg exercises, reduce injury risk and are part of my pre-hike training. Footwear matters too. I buy shoes with plenty of toe room and trim my nails before leaving home. I've lost 3 toenails on trail. That lesson stuck. I use arch support inserts in my boots and trail runners. And trekking poles help reduce knee load on descents. Blister care is one of the most common trail treatments. I use Leukotape and toe socks to prevent blisters, but if I feel a hot spot, I tape it immediately. Toe socks reduce friction between toes, which is where many blisters start. Midday, if conditions allow, I'll dry my feet. I carry lightweight sandals just to let everything breathe. I think keeping my feet dry is the key to happy feet and preventing blisters.
But if I get a blister, I drain it from the side with a sterile needle, leaving the roof intact, and then cover it to alleviate direct pressure.
Prevention first, patch second. I like specialized blister bandages after a blister develops. Hand sanitizer doesn't reliably kill norovirus. Thoroughly washing with soap and water are much more effective before eating.
Hollow fiber water filters like the Katadyn Be Free, Platypus Quick Draw, and Sawyer don't remove it from the water. If you're in an area with norovirus, treat clear water with a SteriPen or chlorine dioxide like these Katadyn MicroPure tablets. Also avoid communal items and shelters like trail logs. Norovirus can persist on surfaces for weeks.
Daily tick checks are essential. An insect repellent reduces risk significantly. I treat my clothes, shoes, pack belts, and straps with permethrin before leaving home. I use picaridin on bare skin. My kids say I'm a camel because I don't drink enough while hiking.
So I drink on a schedule about every half hour, while still being on the go. I also carry electrolytes. Drinking on a schedule without replacing sodium is its own problem, especially in the heat.
My core medications are loperamide to control diarrhea. I use ibuprofen cautiously. It's hard on the kidneys when you're dehydrated, and there are real cardiovascular concerns with prolonged use. I don't use it as a daily trail habit.
In part 1, we talked about cardiac warning signs. I carry chewable aspirin in a small baggie. In suspected heart attack, aspirin is often given in emergency care because it improves outcomes. If I had symptoms that were concerning and evacuation were underway, I would consider taking it. But evacuation is a priority. I also carry the prescription antibiotic doxycycline because some clinical guideline groups recommend it post-tick bite for prophylaxis against Lyme disease. I've also discussed with my doc another potential indication after tick bites. If I were to develop fever and other systemic symptoms, I would consider taking it because it's an effective treatment against ehrlichiosis and Rocky Mountain spotted fever.
Although they reside in other places in my pack, I consider my Dr. Bonner soap, water treatment tablets, hand sanitizer, sunscreen, insect repellent, and electrolytes as part of my medical kit.
One thing the trail teaches you pretty quickly is that your body brings its own history with it.
Because I have some lung scarring from chronic asthma, I carry this a cappella device to keep my lungs happy. Breathing well is worth the extra half pound.
And because I'm prone to lung infections, I carry a course of the prescription antibiotic azithromycin in case I develop a bacterial respiratory infection and need to get off trail.
Azithromycin is also effective for traveler's diarrhea, but most trail stomach illness is viral or mild and resolves with hydration and rest.
Hopefully, I won't need it for either one.
For major emergencies, a medical kit won't save you. Communication will.
Medical knowledge is the lightest thing in your pack. You don't need to carry a hospital with you. You just need preparation and good judgment. What do you carry in your medical kit that I didn't include? Leave it in the comments. Thanks for joining the journey. I'm Dr. Shaman, and remember, be prepared, not paranoid.